Hi and welcome back to Joe Talks Cars. And I just wanted to do this quick video today, just a simple buyer's guide on the Porsche Cayman 987. So I wanted to make this video because I've really enjoyed owning a Porsche. It's been really fun and it's been a lifelong dream of mine, but I was always worried about the costs that you could possibly occur with this. And I think it's all about minimising that to make this dream a reality. This isn't a car that everyone will want to own, and everyone you speak to will go, God, how much is that going to cost you? How much is that going to set you back? Well, I think with these few simple steps, you can try and prevent some of that cost. So as I promised, I would bring the car up for a nice little drive once lockdown ended. But luckily, I was on my way to work today, so I've just returned, come via the fields, which I think you'll agree are absolutely stunning today. So I'm really lucky to live this close to this sort of countryside. It's beautiful for driving a Porsche. So first of all, I would just come around the front of the car, have a look at the aircon condensers. They're fitted just low down in the car here. Leaves and other sort of detritus just ends up in there. Now, this car does look like they've been replaced, which was brilliant because the bill can be £800 to £1,000 to do this. So make sure the aircon works would be one of the first things that I'd do. If the garage tells you that the aircon does work and that it's just needing regassing, I would proceed with caution. Like I said, all sorts of leaves go in there. Mine has got quite a few leaves in there at the moment, and to be honest, I don't even know how to get them out. If anyone knows, they could just let me know, please. That would be brilliant. I need someone with small hands, or I need to shove a vacuum in there or something, I don't know. Anyway, I would just walk around the car, have a general look at the car, make sure all the panel gaps line up really nicely. These cars are exceptionally well put together, so there's no reason why everything shouldn't line up. One of the first things you need to be looking at is the service history of the car. It may seem like a really basic thing, but it's one of the most important things you should look for when buying a Porsche. You often ignore conventional wisdom when it comes to mileage, and the low mileage examples aren't always the cars to buy. Sometimes it's the higher mileage examples with a brilliant service history. The service intervals on these cars are every 2 years, so that's fine if they've followed that. Even better if done one every year. Make sure it's been serviced by a Porsche specialist or by a Porsche main dealer, because they are quite complex cars to work on. This one thankfully has been cared for by a Porsche centre, but it is a low mileage example. That doesn't come without its faults. When I bought the car, there was actually quite a big oil leak from the gearbox sump. This was down to the car just not being driven very far for very long. So all the seals had dried up. It was just an oversight when I went to look at the car. I think I was kind of bowled over by the way it looked, and it was, as you've seen in my previous video, it was the perfect spec for me, so I didn't pay that much attention. It was probably a mistake, but it wasn't the most expensive thing to replace, so did that on the service and all was well. Have a look at the condition of the wheels. So you may have noticed in some of the shots that I've done of the car, these wheels aren't that amazing. They looked really good when I went to buy the car, so maybe they were disguised with some silver paint or something. But anyway, they looked really good, and now they're starting to corrode. These wheels are really common to corrode. As soon as they get a bit of curb damage on them, they're pretty much done. So plan a refurb in there if the wheels aren't great. It's not the biggest job, but you could do without the expense when you're buying yourself a new car. As you would with any car, just have a good look at the tyres. Just make sure that they're worn evenly everywhere and not just worn on the inside or outside edge. That could indicate, yet again, more suspension components that could be potentially worn out. It's just be a simple tracking issue, and if so, that's really simple and cheap to fix. One thing you'll notice while test driving one of these, if you're not familiar to Porsches, you'll go to stamp on the brake and you'll think, well, the brake's not very powerful. Maybe the discs and pads need doing, which obviously is a very expensive job. That could be the case, but these cars, they're not very assisted. So the brake feel is really good, but you do have to press quite a bit harder than you would in a conventional car. So unless you're used to these type of cars, you may be a bit alarmed when you go for the brake. So rest assured, the brakes are absolutely brilliant. What I would do is just get out onto a nice, clear bit of road and do an emergency stop. The car should brake in a nice straight line and be really powerful. The car's very light and the brake's very big, so there's no reason why it won't stop in double quick time. If it doesn't, or it pulls to one side, then you could have some issues, but just the general first bite of the pedal is nothing to worry about, and it's a characteristic of these cars. One issue you will definitely come across when looking at the forums is a thing called bore scoring. Right, I'm not going to pretend this problem doesn't exist. It definitely does exist, but it's in very small numbers. It's not something that would put me off buying a .1. The things to look out for are very simple. So when you start the car up, a big blue cloud of smoke is something you don't want to be seeing, especially one that lingers round. So that's a sign that there could be oil seeping through. Another thing would be just the exhaust tips blacking up. You expect exhaust tips to black up because it's an exhaust, but you don't want oil pouring out of them. That would obviously be a really bad sign. Another one would be oil usage. This isn't something you're going to be able to test on the car because it's probably been filled up. But if the car is showing empty, or the light's flashing, the bottom segment is flashing, I'd probably be a little bit suspicious of that car. One of the other things you can test on it is when you start it up, go around to the back wheel and just listen out for a rhythmic knocking noise. So if you're unsure what this sounds like, just go onto YouTube and type in bore scoring, just so you know what you're listening out for. This could save you thousands, because in the event of bore scoring, it can cost many, many thousands to put right. If anything, it's probably not worth fixing. The RMS is another issue that affects these cars. It's not the end of the world if you have an RMS failure. So they usually start by just a small oil leak. The seal is actually between the engine and the gearbox. So the biggest expense with this is actually doing the seal itself. Normally you'd wait till a clutch replacement, but often these seals go way before the clutch is due. So just bear that in mind. If there's any oil leaking out, it could be the RMS. As far as gearbox is concerned, both the manual and the Tiptronic are very, very reliable in these cars. One thing I did notice is that most people don't service them, so there's nowhere in the service schedule to actually stamp saying you've done the gearbox. It's something that wasn't done on this, and I believe the actual oil inside the gearbox was the original oil. So when it went in for its first full service, I got him to do a gearbox service. It was quite expensive, it was around £350, but I think it's worth it just to know it's been done. Another thing I would look for is on the test drive of the car. Another what may seem like an obvious thing would be when you're driving it, just listen out for any knocks from the front of the car. These could indicate suspension issues, and front suspension coils being broken are one of the common reasons that a Porsche Cayman will fail its MOT. So it is highly likely that springs are damaged. If there's any knocking noises, I think that's due to the firm suspension and the state of our wonderful British roads. So there's no doubt springs are going to get broken. They are very expensive to repair, so listen out for anything that sounds untoward. One thing I actually did have to replace on this, which was a little bit unexpected, was the AOS. So if you've done a bit of research on these, you'll probably think, well, that wasn't exactly unexpected. Well, for me it was, because I just didn't read about it. When I started the car up on a morning, the first few mornings after buying it, I used to get a huge cloud of white and slightly blue smoke. Filled the whole driveway. It was really embarrassing. And I thought, Jesus Christ, like, what is going on here? When I did a bit of research, I realised that the AOS are really common to go. And what it is an air oil separator. Really common to break on these. When I had the service done, they replaced the part. It didn't cost a lot, and I'll pop the price on the screen now, but I can't remember exactly how much it was. It wasn't a lot, but it's definitely worth replacing those every major service. So these are just a few of the possible things to look for when buying one of these cars. This is by no means an exhaustive list, and there's plenty of other things you should be doing with a car, as you would with any car. But these are just some of the things that I feel are really, really important, and they're probably the most expensive things on these cars. So thank you to everyone that has subscribed over the past few weeks. It really does mean a lot, and it just makes me want to make more videos on this car. I have got other cars in my garage which I am going to feature on the channel, so if you're interested in seeing more Porsche content and some other cars as well, then please hit the subscribe button, because it really does mean a lot. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm intending to make quite a lot more of these videos when I get the time to do so, but like I said, during lockdown I can't really leave my house, so I'm kind of stuck to my driveway. Today I'm just on my way back from work, so it was a perfect opportunity. Sun's just going down. It looks absolutely beautiful out there. So I'm just going to go the long way home and enjoy this car. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.